Soho has returned to socially distanced normality, a few drinks and a bite to eat in the summer sunshine. But last night, on an evening called Super Saturday, thousands spilled out onto the streets, and it was chaos. Wow! The owner of GAY, Jeremy Joseph, says despite the best efforts of businesses in the area, the way the restrictions were lifted was a disaster.
It was awful. I mean, the whole situation was completely wrong. This is not what venues wanted. There are two pictures of yesterday. There's Old Compton Street, which was a complete mess, out of control, and people forgot there was a pandemic. And then there were inside venues where, I mean, you can have a look what it's like in there at the moment. You know, we've got screens in between tables. We're at a reduced capacity. It's completely safe.
Everyone's outside.
The sheer number of people out and in close proximity is a worrying sign. Many will be wondering how this fits with keeping the country safe. Throughout this pandemic, the government has said it is guided by the science. But the truth is, the easing of the lockdown is really a grand experiment. Nobody knows what effect it will have on the infection rate. And it's clear that in some parts of the country, like here, for instance, last night, alcohol in quantity is a poor mixer with social distancing. The government's own scientific advisors have said the reopening is not a risk-free next step. And those responsible for policing the streets say the dangers are obvious.
The alcohol and social distancing clearly is going to be a difficulty, and the government needs to accept that. They can't just have their head in the sand and say everything was fine. There were some difficulties with trying to manage that social distancing, and when you put alcohol in the mix, that was predictable.
But in many parts of the country, people did appear to socially distance responsibly as they enjoyed some of the old freedoms. The Health Secretary is warning tougher measures may be reintroduced if the rules are flouted.
We don't shirk from bringing in more drastic measures if that's what's needed to control the virus. But the overall plan has always been, through this lifting of the lockdown, to try to lift the national measures, but also be absolutely crystal clear that we'll tackle local flare-ups when we see them.
This weekend wasn't just about the hospitality sector. People have also been allowed to gather in places of worship for the first time in months.
It is a very big occasion, being the first day back to church after the lockdown. I think it's about 3 months now or thereabout that we've not been here. So it was exciting news to know that the government has actually eased the lockdown for the church.
When the pastor said, we are going to do this, we have our procedures in place and we're ready. So yeah, I'm pleased.
Overall, the government is claiming the biggest easing of restrictions so far was a success. The reality is, though, it won't be for a couple of weeks until we see the true cost in terms of infections of returning to a kind of normal. Alex Rossi, Sky News, Central London.